Hello, Internet. How is everyone doing tonight?
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hello.
All right, so it's Tuesday night, time for more Scuba and Ry, and this week we are joined by, I guess, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jason Azevedo of Realmsmith. Hey, in my world, you're probably one of the most notorious people I get the pleasure to interact with on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. The man, the exhausted, and the overworked this week. That's more like the
Yeah, I guess that's the joy of
the
content
adjective.
creation is
Yeah.
or being your own boss is like you work yourself to death and there's no one to tell you otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's we're gonna hang out, chit chat about all kinds of manner of things. We'll see what comes up, what doesn't come up. But before we get too much further into it, want to take a minute and of course thank everyone out in the community for watching us and hanging out with us. Thank you to the moderators in the chat for all doing all those wonderful things that you do to keep me and other people sane when we try to do these crazy things. If you liking this, you can always support us in a variety of ways. The first and foremost is be sure to hit that like button, the subscribe, and the bell notification so you know when more stuff's coming up on this channel. We also have a few other shows going on Saturdays. We have Shadow Watch, which is a live D&D play, 10 a.m. Eastern over at Scuba Studio on our Twitch channel. Tongue-tied here. Also, Saturday night is another live D&D game, challenge accepted. See what kind of shenanigans everybody gets into. One is in the Underdark. One is figuring out their place on the version of the Sword Coast. See what happens. Sunday morning is Sunday with Scoob. That is a 2-hour-ish stream I do here on YouTube where I paint miniatures and chit-chat with friends. Whether it's my cast members for my D&D games, the moderators, certain Patreon tiers and higher can join in a voice channel I open up. So if you want to be a part of that, you can head over to patreon.com/scuba studio and consider being a patron there and get access to some of those channels, as well as heads up and behind the scenes on what I'm working on. So now that I got that out of the way, yeah. Shout out and a thank you to Sirenscape for the background music and soundboards. This is a custom sound set I made just for Scuba and the Ry. Kind of relaxing at a campfire on the mountains. No fog rolling in yet. That's still a couple of days out, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a little bit.
Yeah, we will.
Foggy weather.
Well, you know, today was like 70 degrees in Virginia Beach today.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
great. It's supposed to be 70s all the way through the weekend. So get my running shoes on and hit the park. You know.
Always good.
What I do.
Sounds like Bruno.
Yeah, he's just acting up here.
We have a guest appearance from the Barker.
He's excited about the weather too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was. You said we were talking earlier. You said he was just hanging out on the back deck, just soaking up that sunlight.
It was balmy here, at least for us anyway. Still snow on the ground, but t-shirt weather. I was outside, right in front of the mist, and it was great. So good.
Nice.
So nice.
Into the Mist is the one of the 2 streams over on Realmsmith, right? Live D&D as well.
That is right. Yeah, we are close. We're approaching season 3, which is incredibly excited, and we've been working very hard at preparing for it. So it's gonna be a killer season. Everybody's very, very excited about it.
Yep. I can't wait. Of course, I have some of the insider info, but I can't talk about it without permission, and I'm not going to do that. Even if the boss is here, I'm not going to do that.
Not today. Not today.
So anybody in the chat,
we'll let Joel spoil everything.
Yeah, that seems to be his job. He's like the Tom Holland of the Realmsmith universe.
That's exactly what he is. Totally. It's so funny.
So while we're chatting with Jason, if anybody in the chat has questions, do a question in all caps on the head, so the mods and myself and we can try and catch them and ask them as they come up. So just a FYI out on that. Oh, Sakura is already wanting me to spoil things. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing it.
Zip up. No words. No spoilers.
No. But so just kind of hanging out. First thing is what we've all been as kind of a icebreaker and things, what we've been doing in the last week. Jay, being our guest, why don't you give us an idea of what you've been working on that isn't necessarily writing for Into the Mist?
Yeah, there isn't anything else that I've been doing that isn't writing for Into the Mist. Obviously, we've been preparing our character creation guide for season 3. There's a bunch of stuff that we've never done before, and we're super excited to dive into. We'll see how it goes. You know, as with every season, you know, we kind of figure it out as we go, and so far people are enjoying it. So let's hope that that continues. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Just kind of dug in, needed to get everything out this week, and it's out. So now, less freedom, because now I got to actually prepare for Monday. Now I actually got to write the session and start the season and do all that actual season stuff. But this was all the character creation stuff that we've. So it's been just a crazy week of that. Crazy couple weeks of that. I was actually up till like 4 a.m. last night.
Again?
In the morning, this morning, with Shad, kind of banging out last minute details about the channels and stuff, and yeah. So, but it's great. It's great. We're very excited, very happy with how it looks, and can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, and of course, what we're talking about for anybody who doesn't know, which I'm sure there's a small percentage of people who don't know, we're talking about the fact that Realmsmith has a fairly active Discord community. One of the biggest things is there's a roleplay section of that Discord that you can be a member if you're a Patreon over of Realmsmith. And with each season, we have our the subscribers can create a character and interact in the world and potentially influence what happens and potentially not. It all kind of sees how things play out, right?
We got a couple questions in the chat, Scoob.
Oh, we already? Wow.
Yeah,
Already.
first one's
Right
from
on.
JC Channel.
All right.
This Monday's episode will be both on YouTube and Twitch, right?
Yeah, so that is the plan. Yeah, the plan is to multi-stream. For this season, we've made a complete shift to Twitch to YouTube for our live stuff, but we may still multi-stream to Twitch for those that want to still tune in. But all of our giveaways and everything will be done on YouTube now, and no longer on Twitch. But we may still multi-stream depending on how things are looking technically between now and Monday. But YouTube is now our flagship platform moving forward.
Nice. I got another question here from he shall not be named, Mr. Shadster. What does your prep for a season look like? Not a session,
Yeah,
a season.
Yeah, Chad, it looks like what we
Spread.
experienced last night, which was like 4 a.m. And Chad knows what that looks like because he's in the trenches with me. Chad is one of our Smith Guardians, as is Scoob, of course, and there are a number of others that work incredibly hard at making everything that's awesome about Realmsmith awesome. And we couldn't do it without you guys. But what does it look like? So a couple weeks ago, I started I was still in the throes of Tides of Wildmount, which is our Wildmount campaign that we just finished the season of. Now we have a 3-month season coming up of Into the Mist. And so a couple of weeks ago, I just started looking through the campaign guide, looking at the source books, looking at where the party might go next, what those options are, kind of deciding what I want to prep for the coming season. Starting to talk to special guests and celebrities and some of our cast, and just kind of touching base and kind of plugging back into the matrix of Barovia, as it were, kind of jacking back in and just trying to figure out exactly where we want to go. I've nailed that down now. So for now, I prep a week at a time because I never know what my party's going to throw at me. And I've kind of been bitten by prepping too far in advance, and then them taking a direction that I completely didn't see coming. But I'm very excited and very happy and very pumped with where the party's going. So what it looks like is really just digging back into the material, refamiliarizing myself with the material after 3 months, starting to paint miniatures and terrain that I know I'm going to need for that season, at least for the first couple episodes, things like that.
I'm can understand the whole prepping and not knowing what your party's going to do, because I've been bitten by that too, so I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And of course, I have the misfortune of every so often people wanting to throw random craziness into my session.
Well, you mean like killing unicorns?
Yeah, I mean, you weren't there. You weren't there when we were talking about it. I was actually thinking that in lore wise, I think the unicorns in my world are going to be more like Clydesdales when they're fully grown. So the
Nice.
one you killed was more like a
Yeah.
fold. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, it makes
it'd
it
get
worse.
very
A
interesting
baby
if that
unicorn.
plot thread ever gets pulled on.
Yeah, kill the baby unicorn. That's much better, Scoop. Thanks. You couldn't have made it like an elderly unicorn. Like they get smaller as they get older.
Yeah,
So
you know.
I was just pushing it along its way. It was struggling.
It's an adolescent. It's not a
It
it's not a
was
complete
suff-
baby.
You're
It was
prime for
suffering.
breaking news there, Scoob. Taking out the baby unicorn.
Oh,
Somebody be
man.
complaining.
Hey, somebody called for the wild magic. The wild magic went off. The roll of the dice gave us the unicorn. I did not anticipate a player looking at it going, you know what? I've never seen that before. I'm a hunter. I'm gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I pulled the trigger. That's my fault. 100%. I take full responsibility for killing the baby unicorn.
Admission, welcome.
That's great.
It happens.
Uh,
Alrighty. So so you try and prep out a couple of weeks. So for your whole season, you're looking at like A to B. Like where do you want to have the party end after the 12 or so weeks for the season, and see how close they end up getting there.
Yeah. Like I'll have an end in mind. Obviously, have a beginning in mind. I know where they've left off, and I have a couple stops along the way, major plot points that I want to hit. And then depending on how they go, I will adjust as necessary. Is kind of my approach. And that way, again, I've always said that characters and players can only follow the threads that you provide them, the hooks that you provide them. And so, I make sure that I provide them with enough that they feel like they're making a decision and that they are weaving their own narrative, but at the same time making it feasible for me to prep for, and not preparing the entire campaign right off the top, because that's insanity. My brain's not working just yet.
Well, you
all
stayed
good.
up till 4 a.m, and who knows how
Yeah.
much sleep you got before jumping back into it again.
Yeah. No, exactly.
got
Alright.
another question in the chat.
Go for it, Rye.
Question for all DMs. So this could be for you too, Scoob. What is the most entertaining, most frustrating abilities your players use, like counterspell? ...
Okay, you go first.
What's the most frustrating?
Entertaining or frustrating ability your players have ever used.
It's a great question. Entertaining. Oh man, that is frustrating. I don't really get frustrated by that kind of stuff. I think that, people for the most part, when they use a spell and it's creative, it's within their purview or within their right to cast whatever they want that's on the sheet. So there isn't necessarily something that I get upset about or frustrated with that's game breaking. I think it's really entertaining. I've never had Cast Bonfire be so entertaining before. And every time he does it, I giggle, because he's like the Cast Bonfire guy. We're talking about Bolt, Tides of Wild, not played by Adam Maines. I'm trying to think. Like there have been some pretty clinch sort of moments in our campaigns. One of them was when, again, Bolt created the helmet of water breathing for Isla to save her while they were fighting the Sahuagin. Spoiler warnings. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, that's a great question. What about you, Scoob?
One I haven't had to personally deal with as a DM, but I had a friend. Every time he would make a druid, he would use the rules that would allow him to get mold earth as a cantrip. So anytime he thought, he'd be like mold earth, and it's just getting overused. But I think right now, probably the one I have to think about the most is Room of Flying.
Interesting.
The broom, it's a nice tool. It's just, and it's the fact that something when you think of like certain difficult terrains or whatever, and if you have room to be on the broom, it's people opting to be on the broom all the time. So it's like now I have to think about it. How can I creatively find a way to make the broom of flying not necessarily the easiest method to go, but have as much challenge as you would walking?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Anything that kind of breaks that fourth dimension, like the ability to fly in general becomes a challenge because now they can go anywhere.
Hmm.
And I mean, there have been many combats that are broken by a party flying, and the enemy that they're facing or the creature that they're facing are landlocked, and then that's it, right? Or they're grounded, and then that's the end of that combat.
Yeah.
So.
But I'd say that's probably my most recent one.
Yeah.
Fly.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right. Like we have another one in here.
Yeah.
Have you gotten a chance to see some of the new content in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft? Or like Joe called him, Van Dervendory or whatever?
Yeah. I know. Joe called it Van Dervendorf because he couldn't remember his name. I have not yet, but I will get an advanced copy of it when they get their PDF, I've been told. So I'm just waiting patiently, waiting to receive that guide. And I'm very excited about receiving it and seeing what's involved and what's in there. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait for my copy to come out. If anything, just because the Dread Realms was fascinating from second edition. And be nice to see what they brought forward to fifth edition.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm just hoping that Falfar's homeland isn't it Darkon. I'm sure it is. Obviously, Darkon's one of the major ones, but yeah, I'm just super pumped. I've done a lot of research. I've talked to some people, and I've watched some kind of like sneak peek videos and things, and some of the stuff that they have coming out is super exciting and super interesting.
And if you're not aware, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is the latest source book that's being released through D&D. D&D Beyond will have it available. It's available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond. Also your local game shops if you want the alternative cover. Set to release in mid-May, May 17th, I believe. So if you're into collecting source books, go check it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Boom. There you go.
Well, D&D Beyond's been really nice and really helpful for streamers as well, because the overlay for Twitch, just the management from a dungeon master has been really nice. Between the encounter builder, which I think still a little broken because there's some variables it doesn't take into account, to the campaign management, even the community dice is worked pretty good, but I don't know. Have you noticed the glitch in the community dice roller, Jay?
I have not. I haven't used the community side of it. Like I've used the dice roller a bunch, and it seems to work fine. And I see rolls coming up when we're using the community, but I haven't seen the glitch.
The glitch we found in a couple of sessions is if you've had it running for a long time and you're making a lot of rolls, at some point the logic seems to break and it keeps giving you the same dice roll repeatedly.
Oh wow.
So instead of you getting a completely random, it's like, okay, I think the most recent one of my characters, Shragnaz, was doing magic missile. He did 4 magic missiles and all 4 of them got the exact same dice roll through a digital dice roller.
Wow.
Like I'm not the best programmer, but I'm pretty sure that is really hard statistically speaking. It's one thing if you got physical dice.
Sure.
But it's another for that kind of a program. So
for sure. And it's bound to happen when you're using software.
True.
Yeah, to roll your dice. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I gave Ry a week to prepare for some questions and some topics to gain interest, because I have insider info, so it's not going to do me a whole lot of good. So, Ry, why don't you got something you want to start off with?
Well, I was able to skim through Facebook and your website and stuff, and one thing that stood out to me was the fact I know you started Realmsmith and everything, or part of the group that started Realmsmith. What led you to creating Realmsmith overall? Like,
Yeah.
what made you decide, hey, I want to do this? You know.
Yeah, I didn't set out to do this.
Yeah.
It wasn't my intended path necessarily, which is funny, right? I mean, you never know kind of where the path will lead. With Realmsmith, I started. I wanted to create a virtual tabletop kind of program slash campaign builder called Dungeon Scribe. It was something that I really wanted to kickstart. I had like original designs, and I was kind of marrying my software development, design, game design in with D&D, and it was going to be great, whatever. And I said, well, in order to kickstart it, I really need an audience first. It's not smart to kickstart something without audience. So I was like, well, what can I do now? Well, I'm a painter and I'm a crafter, and I can craft some terrain and paint some things for D&D. So I just started making videos on a YouTube page to build an audience. But then it just became its own thing. And originally we were a channel just for crafting and painting and so on. And you can see some of those old videos on our YouTube page. And it went really well. It kind of exploded a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, this is a cool thing on its own." So then I started to create and craft stuff for my home game, and then I asked Joel, who was a friend of mine, and everybody at the table I've known for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and I asked Joel to come just play with us one time, and I had this, as you can see in kind of the older sessions, I had this tavern sort of build in my garage, and it was very immersive and cool. And Joel came in, he was like, dude, you got to live stream this. This is crazy. Like, you should get some cameras in here. And by cameras, we meant iPhones. It was horrible. Looking back now, it's painful.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. And I mean,
it's painful.
Hey, as long as it's not the old school 95 webcams,
Yeah.
Digital.
Well, it's funny.
Digital.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's funny because people are watching them now, and I have people all the time being like, "Oh, can you please like upload the rest of Sentinels because I'm watching it?" And people are loving watching the old stuff. I guess it's kind of neat to see where people kind of start, and it's a little raw and kind of fresh. And anyways, it's fun. People are really enjoying that stuff now, which is funny looking back. But it was bad. Audio was bad. It was like it's just horrible. Anyways. But all of that said, I really was into Critical Role at that point. As soon as I started the channel, I started doing research, got into Critical Role, and through osmosis was learning 5e after some time away from Dungeons and Dragons. And we started streaming, and the rest is history. We ended up getting a bunch of sponsors and friends in the industry who wanted to kind of support what we did. Namely WizKids and Vallejo up front, and then Sirenscape became a good friend of ours, and then the rest kind of moved on. So, but that's how we started as a tutorial channel, as a means to create an audience for a Kickstarter campaign, and here we are 4 or 5 years later, doing what we do. It's great.
That's great. One thing I like is seeing creativeness blossom into something bigger, and also blossom into creating a huge community. Especially with D&D, there's a lot of things you can pull from, the great stuff, books, fantasy, just people in general. That leads into another thing I want to ask is, what are some things you've learned from this D&D community that you've created over the years, from the start to now?
What have I learned?
Yeah, learned from them, like, the bonds you've built and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you talking about professionally with other creators, or are you talking about community, or?
Just the D&D community that you've created with Realmsmith. What have you learned from the players that have joined in? Like, what have they helped you, improve upon from what you started from?
Yeah. I don't think we realized the impact we could have personally for people. Not only just around the table, and we've had some tough times and hard times, and we lost some people and so on. So, I just didn't think, you never think about the impact you'll have in people's lives. And on an ongoing basis, we get messages about how COVID's really tough. People are having a really tough go, and Realmsmith gets them through the week. And if it wasn't for us, life wouldn't be as joyful. And so you don't expect that. And that's something that has taught me, it's humbling. And then it's taught me the importance of community, and the importance of not just having fun and playing games, but actually having people and looking out for people and taking care of people and providing an experience that is welcoming and a welcoming environment where people can come be themselves and have a little fun at the same time. I've absolutely learned about that, about the importance of community and what something like Dungeons and Dragons can do during, for example, a global pandemic, or or difficult times, or through depression, and those sorts of things. Definitely learned that. I've also learned the value of having a really close team, and so not speaking necessarily about the community, but like the Smith Guardians and the guys around the table and girls around the table, and how important it is to really kind of surround yourself with like-minded people who do D&D the way that you do, and then create awesome things together. And that can be said not only for the people who are part of the Realmsmith team, but also for Beetle and Grimm with Matthew Lillard and Matt Mercer and Luke Gygax and all these other folks that we've gotten really close to, Sirenscape and Hero Forge, and just are creating something together that we're passionate about, that is kind of changing the face of Dungeons and Dragons and evolving and doing things we've never done before. And then I guess the third thing is that the community has taught us how to evolve this. Like, we're trying to listen to, what do you guys want to be able to do? What is it that makes this exciting? What is it that makes it immersive? What is it that will get us kind of to the next level of what this D&D thing is? And so they're teaching us where to go. They're telling us, and they're informing us through their support, and through being part of the Realmsmith family, kind of where we're headed, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. Building the community and having a tight-knit group of people that you work with,
Yeah,
blossom into something more. There's a couple questions that came through the chat. Start with the one that I see right there. Question. This goes for both DMs, so both you and Scoob. What is your favorite moment from any of the games you've DM'd for? If you can't decide on one, what was the craziest moment?
you can go ahead, Scoob.
I have to say that there's two right now that really got me to really kind of change the approach. One that really got me to change my approach to encounter building, and one that was just off the wall crazy. I really couldn't foresee it happening, and I have to say it's going to be the unicorn one, because there's no way I could ever foresee that coming, because it was a creature I'd never used before in a situation, and it was like, it went down so fast. I mean, you think unicorns are supposed to be like these powerful,
I thought so too. Yeah.
celestial type creatures, and Vulcan just like almost one-shotted it in a single round of combat. And it was just like, okay. And then the other is the dragon. Is when I had the players, and they had been searching for this dragon. They finally encountered the dragon. I increased the dragon's abilities because I feel that it needed to be a bit more challenging, considering how generous I was in character creation, which I definitely learned from that experience too. And the fact that they killed an adult dragon in 3 rounds.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I spent hours crafting, giving it all this, and it's just like 3 rounds done.
My limited knowledge makes me think that should not have happened.
Not really, but dragons are a little rough for me to play with. I had one. I mean, it's like they're dangerous if they're airborne, but if they ever get on the ground in the wrong place, it's done. That's what I've learned twice now running dragons. But I'm not going to shy away from trying to run another one later. Jay, how about you?
Oh man, there's so many. That moment where Adam clinched it with that saving Isla at the last minute with the helmet of water breathing was pretty amazing. The moment with Yokai Bunny's character Eliseed and the flying broom to save Plunk was huge. The "Can I touch your organ?" of course was an amazing kind of scene and moment, just because it was Matt Mercer.
That was wild. I still can't. I mean,
So
maybe
good.
that's my fan person moment, is seeing Matt doing something else and just kind of that whole thing, and just the way that went off, and credit to him, he took it and just rolled with it.
Oh, she broke him for a minute, which was awesome. Like, he was so serious and so into it, and then he kind of laughed off to the side when she said it. It was just brilliant. Oh man, the moment of Luke playing Mordenkainen, his father's character, is a huge one that I keep talking about. Luke Gygax being the son of Gary Gygax, one of the co-creators of Dungeons & Dragons, playing his dad's player character in our game was huge for the first time ever. Matt Mercer playing a character in Wildmount, his world, for the first time on our stream is insanity. Man, there's so many moments. I'm blanking on the Fardo exploding was a great moment. That whole thing, it just broke the room. I was just waiting for it. When they realized that they were eating the kids, like, me serving the meat pies in Barovia, for those that don't know, spoiler warnings, the meat pies in Barovia are made from children. And so when the players engaged, I actually brought meat pies that Julian had bought into the room, and they ate them and they loved them. And then the next season they found out they were kids, because I wanted that visceral response of, I actually remember how that tasted. It was amazing, and now I know it's children. Yeah, there's so many moments. I could probably go on all night, but yeah.
Got a question we missed earlier, but we're going to bring it up, and it kind of dovetails really good into this whole bit. Is, how do you handle moments that you did not foresee?
Yeah. I think I filter that a little bit by not expecting much, if that makes sense. Like, that's a trying to remember of a specific example of when that might have occurred.
I think it's a testament to, like, a lot of times when you're doing that collaborative storytelling, the ability to improv, how creative you can be on the spot when you are like, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting this.
100%. I mean, Dave does a lot of that. Dave brings that to the table a lot. Grabbing somebody and jumping overboard, and then realizing, oh, wait a second, the boat's still moving. But there's a lot of that from Dave. Dave often does things you don't expect and uses his spells and abilities, and it keeps me on my toes. That's always a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm trying to remember a specific example of that. But I mean, it happens all the time where, expect the unexpected, and that's the best part, is when you have something, you've placed a challenge in front of them, you have a way out, of course, as a DM, or multiple ways out, and multiple failure states, and what happens from that. But then when they bring something completely out of the, again, like the helmet of water breathing, that just kind of blows your mind, you're like, holy crap, I cannot believe they just pulled that off. That's pretty awesome. And those are pretty awesome moments.
Got another question in here, but I'm not gonna ask that, because that is just too close to the mark on some things. You're scrolling through the chat, you might see it. I believe it alludes to your singing prowess.
Oh, you can go ahead and ask it. There is no question. I've said it many times that I will not answer.
All right. Okay. It was popped up. I had to scroll up to get to it. A question. Person who should not
this
be
is, of course,
named.
is from Shad.
Yes. Her person who shall not be named. Shad. Jason, you are a great singer. Care to sing some Backstreet Boys?
I will not. You all have to wait until RealmCon, whenever that might be, in order to experience that. Except for the time here and there when I do it on stream. But no, Shad, and just for you, I will sing. I will sit you in a chair and sing directly to you, just for all of this. For all of this build-up over the last couple years, I will absolutely serenade you for the entire Realmsmith community in front of everybody. Take that.
Boom. Mic drop.
Man.
Yeah, he is going to hate me, and he is going to regret it.
Well, his next comment after that was he's like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we all love him.
Yeah.
Got another one here. What is the biggest challenge you have faced during since you started Realmsmith? What has been what has been the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges?
Yeah. I mean, complete transparency inside baseball, honesty. I mean, cash flow is always a thing, right? You're working with. I quit my full-time job at a charity. I was working at World Vision, and when Realmsmith got to the point where it could more or less support me, I decided to make that jump, and that was a scary jump, and it was a huge transition and something that was unknown and all of that stuff. And through the years, when you're dealing with sponsors and you're dealing with all that sort of thing, cash flow is always a question and a concern. And then you hit global pandemic, and the box business is decimated, and you got to figure out how to deal with that and how to ramp up the live stream side of the business to make up for the box business. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge is kind of resources and how to make this work. Joel said it once, and I've used it kind of as my saying since, and that is survival is success. If you manage to find a way to survive past the next challenge, eventually you will succeed. And that is kind of something that I've held really true to myself, and kind of that's what we've built Realmsmith on, and why we're still here after some pretty big slams through this global pandemic, and with some really amazing people who believe in us, even despite the state of the world and all of that kind of stuff. But I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
I think many people could. I think, especially when you're a creator and self-employed and running a business, and
Well, for me, it's I was working and then starting this podcast thing, and then finally able to tune in to more of like your Nolzers, and then getting experience in watching the D&D games, and then I got laid off at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's like, well, now it's not like I have this crossroad. Do I jump or do I play it safe?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I don't regret jumping. I may get a little panic sometimes, but I don't regret jumping.
Yeah. You wish you had maybe packed an extra chute kind of thing before you did. But but on the flip side, the reward is so much greater to be able to do what you love, even if you have to be tight, even if you have to, struggle through it a little bit. The reward of being able to follow your dreams is something that I'll never take away. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally.
All right, Ryan, what you got next for us?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Back on the spot? Okay. I was having fun with the reminiscing about Backstreet Boys for some reason, but yeah. Let's rewind back. Because yeah. What do I have here? Oh yeah. What is because with all the D&D stuff and anything, what is your earliest memories of tabletop games or dice games?
Yeah. So I started playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, my uncle and I used to play like board games, Monopoly and all the typical board games, Fireball Island, all that stuff, right? Way back in the day. But the earliest memory I have of Dungeons and Dragons, I was probably 12 or 13, and I had buddies who, one guy was a dungeon master who got all of us into it, and we used to play every weekend, and every chance that we got, we'd stay up all weekend, order pizza, go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, sleep for a couple hours, wake up again as early as we could, play all day until evening again, and just stop for pizza and washroom breaks. And I mean, that really cemented my love for RPG, even though I took a bit of a break from it in my kind of 20s and early 30s. I think that really, I still remember my character completing quests at that, in my mind's eye from those times. But those are kind of my earliest, kind of the 12, 13, jumping into 3.5 at that point was just an incredible experience.
Oh yeah, it's always good to remember good old childhood dice games.
Yeah, so fun.
And I just have one more based, you mentioned other interests and hobbies that you did do. What are some of those, and how do they play into your creative nature for the Realmsmith?
Yeah, related to that, of course, painting, artwork. I do a lot of the illustration. Oh, most of the illustration of the Realmsmith stuff that we do, and all the design of the interface and stuff like that. So I'm an artistic, creative person. Love doing that. I do it on the side sometimes too, but most of it is obviously in the world of Realmsmith and goes towards that and that energy. But when it comes to actual hobbies, I'm really big in Airsoft, actually. My son and I have been into Airsoft for the last number of years. It was something that I always wanted to play when I was a kid. For those that don't know, it's like paintball, but more military strategy, and more of a reenactment sort of. It's paintball LARP it's military LARP is really what it is. But anyways,
yes, it is.
Yeah, pretty much. But I love it. And sadly, for those Canadians in the channel or whatever, sadly, the Canadian government is trying to pass Bill C21, which will make airsoft guns a banned substance in Canada, or a prohibited item, and so you can't sell, buy, travel with, transport. You can own them, but if you're caught with them, they'll be confiscated. So really sucks, because they're basically like glorified toys, expensive toys, which we use for sport and fun. And I mean, my 14-year-old boy plays it, so that's tough. But that's probably my other biggest hobby outside of that. I used to have a band, used to sing a lot. That went by the wayside with Realmsmith. And I think that I'm just blessed and have had the ability to and fortunate to have the ability to make my biggest hobby my job, and that is D&D. And so that would have been kind of my other choice and but now it's my job, so it's a little different. But those are my biggest hobbies. I mean, I collect 6 scale Marvel figurines. I don't want to say figurines, they're collectibles, they're hot toys things. But other than that, it's pretty much it. I'm into movies and I'm into other things like that, but what geeks aren't, right?
Yeah, that's all good. Yep, yeah. I have building my own little collection of figurines as I look up at my desk.
Yeah, all those pops you keep buying.
Yeah, well, I'm not super crazed. I don't go in and just walk out with 20 pops. I'm very meticulous on the ones I want. So
that's fair. If you're in Canada or whatever, definitely check out all the info on that C21 Bill. It sucks. I heard about it through House Gamers, which is an airsofter that I had the privilege of meeting. He came down here to Balhack Airsoft Field for one of our zombie events, and had the chance to meet him. Great guy, really cool. And then I saw his video on that, and it's like, as soon as I saw it, my first thing was messaging Jay, and it was like, you know about this? Because I can't do anything because I'm stateside, but
it's so bad, and it really solves nothing.
I mean, they didn't address live fire weapons. They only addressed the airsoft weapon. I mean,
it's crazy. It's crazy. It just doesn't make sense. They're trying to prohibit anything that shoots a projectile that looks like a real gun. So that's BB guns, pellet guns, airsoft guns, and it's kind of silly. So, anyways, but hopefully, I mean, we've all signed petitions and sending letters to our representatives and all that stuff. So hopefully they don't pass it, because it'll kill our hobby.
Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Write, voice,
Well, if you and Ethan ever, once the border opens up, if you guys want to come down here to Balhack, I got some game cards on the side. I got a few friends around here. We can get you in there for that airsoft, and especially if they do, because he's a big gamer too, the Swamp Sniper, and some of his thing is like trying to do like these like video game themed events. He has like a zombie apocalypse one.
Cool.
Is Revelations, which is like live action Fallout. If you ever played the Fallout games, completely wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah, airsoft is always great.
Yeah, it's so much. I love it, and not only that, but it's active, and it's just great.
All right. Yeah, there's a question in the chat, Scoob.
All right. What was the character, early one you were just referencing, racing class? What was that character
Oh
from back those
gosh.
overnights?
Yeah, I had a back then I had a elven ranger. It was a wood elf ranger, and I had a human paladin. Were my two first characters. I actually have my books from back then where I like drew like pictures of them and of all their weapons and wrote all their stats. And I've been promising people I'd find it. I haven't found them yet, but one day I'll pull them out and show them on stream sometime. It'd be a lot of fun.
Is it something you might actually pull into your world as an NPC character?
Oh sure, actually that's a great idea. That's awesome. Totally am going to.
Mental
Totally
note
100%.
taken.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it seems only fair. It's like if you have some of those really iconic characters, especially when you think about how they've survived to this current edition. Like,
Yeah.
what stories would they have? What influence could they be to the current party?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I think we got all that. We got that. What about you, Jay? You have any questions for us? Let's kind of flip the script on there. You can beat us up with some inquiries.
Don't beat
Yeah.
me. I'm fragile.
No, you're not. Shut
really.
up.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really fragile. Scoop throws me across the office all the day, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to your channel and kind of what you guys are doing, and you guys are doing a great job, and I mean, a lot of the cast have been on there, and obviously we're tied fairly closely with you guys. But what are your aspirations as a channel, and where do you guys kind of want to go in the next, say, couple years?
I want the studio to go to do more, obviously more content type things. Very similar. I originally started the idea of to do like building content, crafting, making stuff for tabletop, doing carpentry stuff, and then the podcast side of it was kind of one of those things. Ry was like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast," and I'd been collecting the stuff, and was like, "All right, let's do this," because he's been writing movie reviews for 6-7 years now, and
Cool.
figured here's a platform to do that. So I'd like to continue to do that. I like to get out and do more of the interviews and the chats and learn more about other aspects of the community. Like it's really great having everybody from Realmsmith who's on. And I think we said months and months ago, one of the hit list was to try and get you on because your schedule's obviously crazy. And it just happened to be, oh wait, he's got a week off from his other thing. Let me see if I can get him.
Yeah,
But I'd like to spend more time. I'd like to do more interviews and do more within that kind of thing. Because our whole bit is anything geek, whether it's a movie review, a video game commentary, D&D stuff, which I think is really great. There are a lot of people who do gravitate to that. But finding more of what I can do within D&D, the community, to again try to offer my optics on that. And, you know, kind of see how I can contribute, because I want to contribute. I think some of the opportunities that are coming up that I'm not going to go into too much, because obviously there's reasons, but some of those opportunities I'm really excited for. And I'd say a lot of it, I have to thank being involved, because it's like, here's an opportunity for me to do more things.
That's awesome. All right, a question from the chat for Ry. When are you going to play again, Ry?
Maybe
That's from
if
Major Zip.
maybe if I walk through the wrong door, I get tied and dragged back in. But yeah, whenever they do the mob squad thing again, whenever you get
Mod
that
Squad
going.
or any of the other games,
Yeah.
but you got school right now. You're a graduate program.
Yes, graduate
Wow.
program. I work as a trainer for where I work, and then I like to randomly travel places. And with the weather getting better, vaccines out there, and things starting to open, I'm going to start trying to do my winery trips again.
Very nice.
Yeah. No, Rys Background is writing. He's done a couple of book writings, and we've chatted a little bit about that, which is again really nice for the D&D side, because get to talk about writing and story development. I think that's our biggest thing when we do our movie reviews and our game commentary is let's analyze those stories. Let's see how those stories kind of come and how they're influenced in other people's stories.
That's great. Right on.
We're just about at the hour mark. I think we've done pretty good time keeping everything going. which is awesome and amazing. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up and call it a night. Before we get too far along, Jay, anything you wish to give a shout out and a plug and commentary on? Because obviously there's some familiar faces in the chat you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, again, thanks to you, Scoob, for the support that you've given to us. I mean, there's so much that you've done already, and you are continuing to contribute to Realmsmith as a Smith Guardian. So that means a lot to me. It means the world to me, and that goes to the rest of the Smith Guardians too. We, like I said, I couldn't do without you guys. It's a thankless job. It's a volunteer job, and it is a job. It is work. A lot. It's a lot of hours, and as much as I know you guys love it and enjoy it, I know that it is kind of tough and crazy sometimes, and busy, and timelines are nuts. So anyway, so I want to thank you guys for sure. I want to this Monday we are launching season 3 of Into the Mist. It's going to be amazing. We're very, very excited, and we are giving away a limited edition Curse of Strahd box to our Discord. And you have to be a patron to be a part of the Discord. So if you join on Patreon, submit a character, you will be entered into to win the $400 Curse of Strahd limited edition from Beetle and Grim. So that's a huge, awesome, fun perk. And just make sure that you get in there and you join in order to be able to win. So
yes, if you're not familiar with Beetle and Grim's adventure boxes for game settings, they are amazing quality stuff. Real quick, got a last question in from our friend down under, Mr. Antipodine D20. Is Realmsmith doing anything for GaryCon this year? Last year was fantastic.
Boom.
Yes. We are not producing this year. They have an internal production team that is running all of their production this year. So we are not doing that, but actually you'll hear it here first. This is a channel exclusive for you guys.
Nice. Thank you.
We are doing part 4 of our Cyberpunk series.
Nice.
For GaryCon. So I don't know if that's even been announced yet, so you guys can keep it under your hats, but that is
we're not going to tell, right, chat? We're going to be all mum about it, right?
and we'll be announcing that. Yeah, we'll be announcing that very soon. It may even be on the schedule. I don't even know, actually. That's a great question. I should probably check that out. But yeah, part of Virtual GaryCon, we're doing another Cyberpunk show. So, and we're co-producing with GaryCon. It's going to be great. It's always really fun. So
awesome. Mm-hmm. I like this. I like the Cyberpunk stuff. Really nice. Really nice seeing that kind of world.
It's fun.
All right. So I don't know. I'm trying. I've got to thank the chat because they find ways to break some of my things so I can learn more about them. Like Nightbot got beaten and is going to get beaten into submission because some people broke it, and I got to thank them for breaking it so I can fix it.
Did.
You know who you are, so we'll leave it at that. But yeah, thank you everyone for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Jason, for taking some time out of your well-deserved week of rest in streaming.
Yeah. I might take tonight off a little bit. The Discord is open. Everyone has their creation guides. Everyone's submitting there. I might just close my laptop for the first time in like weeks and just watch something on good old TV tonight. That might be what happens tonight.
I hear Disney released a new film last week, Raya and the Last Dragon. If you're into Disney Plus,
and it's great. It got really good reviews.
I went and saw it. I actually decided to go to the theaters because I didn't feel like paying that premiere price tag. But yeah, it was a summarization of my review. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Good. We'll talk about more of that next week just to catch up. But as I was saying, thank you to the mods, thank you to the community, thank you of course to co-host and guest. Remember, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Scuba Studio. Shadow Watch, live D&D game with a bunch of level 8 characters who happen to be Smith Guardians as we venture into the Underdark. And we'll be waiting for the wonderful return of Vulcan as soon as his schedule frees up. And Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern is Challenge Accepted. Another group of adventurers who are currently making the way to Saltmarsh to continue their inquiry into what's happening there. Sunday morning, of course, is Sunday with Scoob, where I paint a miniature because I got inspired to do an online painting stream and talk about my painting. I don't know where I got that crazy idea from, but I actually have a lot of fun. I'm not sure what I'm going to paint yet. I still got to figure it out. But either way, it's conversation and painting, and just kind of relax, grab your coffee and chill, so to speak. And
So
with
great.
that, we will wish you all a wonderful week, wonderful weekend. Be sure again to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell so you're notified when new videos come out here on this channel. And if you want to support the studio, head over to patreon.com/scuba studio to check them out. And we will see you on our next stream. Good night, everybody.
Peace.